Hey, this is Anney.
And Samantha.
And welcome to Stuff I've Never Told You, production of iHeartRadio.
Happy Thursday, fam.
Happy Thursday to you and the fam as well.
Yeah, so quick warning at the beginning. If we are opening beers and or something that seems fun or flavorful, like a wine or something, we probably are going to do some, not specifically like throughout, just one good time of the ASMR of me opening up the beverage. So if that bothers you, you may want to skip when I say I'm about to open my drink.
Yeah,
just to go and put that in there.
Do like a pause, like a dramatic pause.
We'll give you a minute. Skip 15 seconds, and then we'll start.
Wow, 15.
I don't know, because on the little listening things,
okay,
there's a 15-second skip over.
That makes more sense than like it's going to take you 15 seconds to open a beer.
No. You can do the automatic skip over.
I got you.
Come on, Anney. I don't know what it's called, but it's that thing on the thing. This is a good happy hour,
Perfectly clear.
But yes, today we are going to talk more about women and breweries and beer. And we're going to talk about the wonderfully crafted beer from Will Brewing, the Ollie beer. Olly, if you are wondering. So I'm now opening the beer, which by the way, it's corked because it's a bottled beer. So hold on a second.
And also, as always, currently, we are not sponsored by who we're talking about, and also drink responsibly if you're choosing to have an alcoholic beverage, because we always say whatever you want will help relax you. That's what we want for you.
And it doesn't harm anybody? Yes. Yeah, so today, as we said, we're drinking Ollie beer, and it is actually from the creator of Hannah Godey. But before we start, Anney, how did you get into beer? Or did you, maybe?
No, this is actually a very funny, to me, answer. So as you know, Samantha, I am a fan, also not a sponsor, of Coors Light. And in my family, in my mom's side of the family, she has 3 siblings, so there's 4 of them. 2 of them prefer Corona Light, 2 of them prefer Coors Light. So I grew up like with my mom drinking Coors Light and kind of being involved in my family where, at a certain age, like 16, and like, you want to try this Coors Light. And I liked it immediately. There was never, because most of my friends had that like period where they would say, I don't like beer. And I believe them, because beer can be a very strong flavor for if you've never had anything like it. But I never went through that period. I did have I don't like IPAs or something maybe, but I've just, for as long as probably, 16. And yes, it is underage. But I also, I think because of that, I didn't get in trouble drinking. I didn't go out drinking. That was not, my thing. But occasionally, my mom would be like, do you want a Coors Light? And I'm like, yep.
And just put in there, we're not encouraging underage drinking.
No. I was always supervised with my mom, who is the best. So it was a good time. But yeah, and then my horizons sort of expanded as I moved to a city, went to college, more options. Yeah.
Yeah.
How about you?
So I did not start drinking until way later, mainly because of my own upbringing, as well as being very religious. And in my world, when you're religious, all alcohol is bad. So I was a very good person in that I kept with
I was a bad person?
Yeah, you were. Yeah, you were. In that I was absolutely afraid of alcohol in general. So I didn't actually start drinking until I think it was 22, and I started with wine. I actually also like the taste of beer. So that's never been a thing for me. I thought it's always tasted nice and weedy, and I like that bready taste. So yeah, it tasted delicious to me. But I started off drinking brown ales. That's how I got into it, and dark ales. And I feel like a lot of people do this. And I started out with Guinness and Newcastle.
Yeah.
And that was my starter. And then as I slowly understood craft beer, I was like, oh, okay, this is what this is. It took me a long time to get into IPAs. I will say that, because it is a whole different taste than that bready lager that you get. And as I started appreciating that and the beers, and I started understanding what it took to make beers and to create these beers. It's science, and this whole level of crafting, it became a whole thing that I was like, okay, I get this, I get it. This is a unique industry in what they're doing, though it is like you do understand the science and the math and just all of you need biology in here, you need chemistry in here and all of that. So that's really fascinating that I'm like, okay, cool. And then as I was working at the brewery here in Atlanta at Orpheus, we were all trying to get the Cicerone certification and understanding that and the depth of what you had to do to be certified to begin with, which I never did. I really want to finish that out, that I understood how big this was. And as we know, home brewing became a huge thing in the last 10 years, I guess. I'm sure I'm going to have a lot of people at me and be like, no, I've known it since this time and this time. It is fascinating. It is a whole other level. And I love watching women who have become huge parts of the home brewing world and home brewing industry and seeing that and how they truly are gifted when it comes to understanding the palate of beer. And Hannah Godey is one of those who did that, who has started with being a home brewer and dabbling with her friends or dabbling with her brothers in her garage and getting things together, to really loving the beer culture and what it has done for her as someone who loves beer. And she worked at Will Brewing, which is located in Pennsylvania. Again, another shout out to Jason from Orpheus who helped me get these beers. And the brewery is fantastic. I think they have 2 locations now, and the original one is in Pennsylvania. But she helped create this sour brown ale, which has been barrel aged for up to 5 years with a lot of good dark plum and currant notes. It's quite delicious. It actually won a silver medal from the 2018 World Beer Cup. So yummy. And award-winning. Who doesn't love that?
I love it. So not.
So actually, Hannah went on and is now the head brewer of Naked Brewing, which we're going to have to hit that up. I'm going to have to find some connection because I need that. I need that beer. But she did start her, I guess, actual career with Free Will as a brewer / event coordinator, which happens a lot. A lot of the women get like dual roles, I've seen, not just one thing. There are many things. I've seen that a lot. And she created this beautifully crafted beer. She, again, like I said, she's an obvious seasoned brewer. And like many others, love the technicality of crafting and creating these different types of beers. And she talked about how she does love sours. At first, it's like a little complicated because you watch and it makes sure that these yeasts are cultured properly and how it affects flavor with the way it's grown or whether it's stored. And I know we learned about, and you came to a class that was hosted at the brewery that I worked at, our Meet Cute, which if you haven't seen the picture, is on our Instagram. Where I was serving her beer, didn't know who she was. Didn't know at that point in time that she would change my life.
That's right.
They had a whole session about crafting sour beers and the science behind it. And of course, they had their biologist who was there and taught them a lot about the different yeasts and the specific mother yeast that was locked up at a school because they had to protect the recipe. Like it's a whole thing.
Yeah. I love it. Well, obviously, I was at that class for fun.
Many more.
Yeah. And I love like the mother yeast sounds so cool. And I love that sour beers in particular, there's definitely a science and a way to manufacture a product consistently that is the same. But it's also kind of the Wild West of like, depending on where you are and the yeast and bacteria in the air. Like when I did that video with Orpheus, they were talking about like you're tasting Piedmont Park. Like whatever Piedmont Park has to offer is a part of this beer. And so you can't quite control things like that. And that makes it really fascinating to me.
Right. Which also can kind of be problematic when you're trying to do quality control.
Yes,
if you don't already have that, or if it gets ruined somehow, it takes a whole different turn. And I do also love learning about the hops and the different industries that come into play. At one point, they were talking about the fact that hops were worth more than gold because it was it was in such demand. So stuff like that really is fascinating anyway. But having female brewers come in and taking control and being a part of something that it has been recently so male-dominated and taken to a whole other level. It's a beautiful thing. So first of all, good job, Hannah. Cheers to you for an amazing beer. And by the way, so we were going to give our own little notes in my own opinion, what this tastes like. This is an amazing beer. It's smooth and it's tart but sweet. And it leaves a sweet, like caramel aftertaste. It's a very smooth mouthfeel. It's almost like I've just sucked on a Werther's Original, which is one of my favorite candies, by the way. I love it.
Truth.
But the aftertaste is like I just finished one of those. It is surprising. I was not ready for that. And it's so tasty. One bottle is not enough. It is, I'm lying.
Yeah. I agree with everything you said. And I when you said the like coating and that mouthfeel, it just clicked like, yes, that's exactly what I'm experiencing. And that is one of the things that stood out about this beer to me was that it was a very unique texture and mouthfeel in my personal beer experience.
Right.
Like listening to that, you might think that sounds heavy, but it really wasn't heavy at all. It was light and refreshing.
Right. So in their own description, it says it's with a malty undertones and a pleasantly sour finish. And it's definitely one of those where I've had different sours, obviously. Like there are so many to be offered and so many different kinds, and I love it. But this was one that didn't leave me as with the acidity aftertaste that kind of lingers. It didn't leave that, which was different too. And I loved it. And don't get me wrong, I love sours.
Yeah.
This one was so different that I was like, I can drink this after a meal and feel like it's kind of a dessert.
Right. It's very unique like that because I think that if you had explained this to me where it's like got these like caramel notes but is also a sour beer and it's tart, I would have been like, that doesn't sound like a combination that makes sense to me. But it works. It absolutely works.
Yeah. So thank you, Hannah, for such a great and delicious beer. And I can't wait to actually get my hands on your newest beers at Naked Brewing. And for those who have already gone there, who know people there, tell them we said hello and good job.
And they'll be like, who?
That's true.
Are these creepers?
True.
Yeah. So cheers. Thanks for joining us, everybody. As always, if you have any people you want us to spotlight in the beverage industry, any drinks, alcoholic or not, cocktails, non-alcoholic cocktails, send them our way. The quest for this minty themed cocktail is ongoing, and also Star Wars cocktails I always appreciate. So if you would like to send those to us, you can. Our email is stephaniamomstuff@iheartmedia.com. You can also find us on Instagram at Stuff I Never Told You or on Twitter at MomStuffPodcast. Thanks as always to our super producer, Christina.
Cheers, Christina.
And thanks to you for listening. Stuff I Never Told You is a production of iHeartRadio. For more podcasts from iHeartRadio, visit the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite shows.